Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Juliana. I want to ask you a question. How do you filter the books you buy? How do you choose the books that you want to read or that sometimes it often happens with me, and I'm supposing if you are a reader that this is a situation that happens to you too, that sometimes you buy a book and then it stays on the shelves getting dust. But even so, when you make a decision to buy a certain title of a certain author, what makes you choose that title or that author? That's what I want to talk to you about today. So, how do I choose the books that I buy? As you may already know, I regained my enjoyment for reading during the pandemic. I spent a good few years away from reading as a recurrent habit. I'm not counting articles on magazines, articles on newspapers, articles on the internet. Of course, those type of readings I did before the pandemic, but I'm talking about literature, and I think I can say that nowadays I choose the books that I buy. I want to say very carefully in the sense that I do research beforehand to buy that certain title. However, I would like to point out that I also buy on impulse. And as you may know as well, I'm trying to build a wealth of references with classical or classic works and older and more modern. So for this reason, many books that you watch me here talk about aren't a novelty per se, or are books that many people have already talked about. And that's why, because I'm building baggage and I have to start, I believe, with books that have certain characteristics and certain references. Let's talk about how or where do I go to search for my references. So I admit right away, the one big source of references is YouTube. And I'm talking about the book niche or the booktube. So YouTube started for me long ago, way before I found out about people talking about books on the internet. That's not my point. YouTube for me was always a constant since my adolescence. I watch things on YouTube since a very young age. Till today, I accompany people that I accompany more than a decade ago. But talking about the book niche, I started in 2020, so during the pandemic, in a random way, and I never stopped after that. And I have to say that many suggestions that I get or books that pique my interest are or come from booktube. But something that has happened more recently is that I go after books that are mentioned in books I read or that I'm currently reading. So one of those, the most blatant, are the books that I bought because of this one. I have talked about this. This won't be a surprise to you. So I read this book last year, and here in the end, it has where it is, or where is it? Or here it is, further reading, and there has a list of books, and those books are, for instance, one that I was reading at the end of last year. I started in November but then for some reason I stopped. Yes, I'm talking about Christmas, A Social History by Mark Connelly. This one. So this is referenced in this book, and I want to buy more that are referenced in here, but or I didn't find them, or I kind of forgot. And well, I have my priorities in terms of books to buy next, and well, I had to start somewhere, so I started with this one. Then I bought Unwrapping Christmas, edited by Daniel Miller. This is by Oxford. And From Stonehenge to Santa Claus, The Evolution of Christmas by Paul Frodsham. Here it is. So these ones are all about the same theme, as you can understand. And I intend to do this more often, to pick through references and then going through with them. And I'm more and more being careful and being attentive to references given in the books that I read. So that's one of the ways. But something that is another factor that influences me immensely are the newsletters from the publishers to which I subscribe. And although this is kind of fun, I don't really advise you to do that, and I have to take this advice myself. And I have to say to you that this is a resolution that I made for this year, to 2025, is to not pay attention so much to the newsletters of the publishers. And of course, I'm talking about in my reality here in Portugal, because I often give into the temptation of promotions. And of course, when you are subscribed to a newsletter, you receive emails all the time announcing sales or promotions or whatever. What do I usually do? So I go to my wish list that I have in certain website. Even I'm talking about a bookshop online. I go to my wish list that I have somewhere, that I have, for instance, in the proper website, or in lists that I have in my computer or in Notion. And I go through with my wish list and see if in that said promotion some books that are in my wish list are contemplated with the promotion. You know what I mean? So I do that, and sometimes I put in the basket and buy them. Other times, when it's a selection made by the site or the bookshop itself, and it's a selection of books, is not a general promotion on all the books that are available in the website, sometimes I have to say that I enter the page, I go through the titles and the covers of the books, and I go to read the synopsis and see if there is anything that attracts me or entices me. And I have to say that, well, it happened last year at the end of the year. I bought some titles, not that I'm regretful, but at the same time, I think this is aimless consumerism. You know what I mean? And why? Well, because they weren't in my wish list. I just knew about them because they were in the page of the books that were in sale. You know what I mean? So I bought them because they were in the promotion. Yeah. Of course, you can find some gems like this. I'm not saying the contrary, but you are spending money sometimes in books that weren't a priority for you, you know? And I have to beat myself up because I did this. And I want to stop to doing this. But okay, another method that it's even more recent, and I'm really glad that this happened, and that is buying books because you suggested them. So as you can understand, and it's not hard to see, you can see right below, i'm not I'm a micro channel. So I don't receive many comments. I have a few of you that usually comment in my videos, and I get to know you a bit, and I appreciate you. And some of you have suggested, or not even suggestions, but just mentions, of titles that you also enjoy because some book that I was talking about, and I wrote and made notes of those set titles. But one particular one, because I was already interested in the author, because I had titles in my shelves already, but they weren't my choice per se, but I was interested or reading titles from that said author. And I'm talking about Ham on Rye by Charles Bukowski. So this was a recent purchase. This was in second hand, of course, but as you can see, it's in pristine stage. As you can see, it's new, like maybe the person read one time or so. I found this book like interesting in the way that the person that commented said it was more like an autobiographical work. And I think for an entry point in in reading Charles Bukowski, that will be quite interesting to be something more autobiographical. So that's why I chose to buy this. And it was in a good price. So, of course, that was also a big point to being added to my shelves. So, there you go. So, summarizing, booktube or YouTube or wherever the niche of books in YouTube, references of titles in the books that I'm currently reading or read, and your suggestions. So I would really love to know, how do you choose the books that you buy? How do you cater to yourself? What are the methods that, well, if you have those, or if you have some, what is your criteria? What makes you decide, I want to buy this book, and you do it? I want to know, because I really love to getting help with this. And something that I want to ask you for help as well is, how do you control yourself to stay in the budget that you can to buy or acquire physical books or digital or whatever, audiobooks, anything regarding books? So, because I have to say that last year, at the end of the year, I'm talking about October to December, and even January, even this month, I'm kind of making purchases in a more impulsive way, and I'm not enjoying it. I enjoy because how can I explain it? I think I'm kind of having a behavior of an addict, you know what I mean? And that's not healthy at all. And I should be, of course, that literature is a good investment. I'm not saying the contrary, of course not. But I have other priorities as well. And I have to be more, or I want to be more thoughtful in the purchases that I do in everything, but as well as in books. Because the reality is, as you can see, I have a whole shelf full of books that the majority of them I haven't read. And I'm buying more books that the ones that I can realistically read. The ratio between books read and books bought, well, it's more like this. So books read, and books bought. And I'm finding that I have to stop. So I couldn't make this. The decision was made, but the practical or the practice of the decision wasn't made in January. So I'm kind of mentalizing myself to, at the beginning of February, make a sort of book buy ban. I have an exception because I'm eyeing on a really good promotion on a specific website that will happen in the middle of spring, that I don't know how or if I'm going to do that, but I just want to do purchases at that moment or at that time. But for the rest of the year, I want to read more and buy less. Please tell me if you struggle with this as well, if you buy more than you read. I suppose, well, I'm seeing a trend, I think I can say is a trend, that a book buying ban. Well, I have to say that I'm not a fan, of course, but for practical and more realistical life reasons, I should do the same. I'm finding kind of hard, but well, let me know of you if you struggle with this as well. If you have strategies to combat this feeling of acquiring and having the object in your hand because something that it satisfies me, so that's why earlier I said this is like an addition or something, because I'm kind of being buyaholic. Purchase-aholic, how do you call it? That's a movie about this. Even I don't know how it's called, so sorry, but I don't want to become that. I want to be a reader, not a spender. So let me know all about it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.